Have you ever set a goal with the best intentions only to find yourself doing the exact opposite a few hours later? Maybe you decided to wake up early for a workout but hit the snooze button instead. Perhaps you committed to eating a healthy lunch but found yourself drawn to the convenience of fast food. This internal struggle is a universal human experience. It is the very essence of a willpower challenge. Neuroscientists often say that even though we have one brain, we effectively have two minds. This isn't a metaphor for good and evil, it's a description of two different systems within our brain that are often in competition. A willpower challenge arises whenever these two minds have conflicting goals. One mind is the impulsive, primitive part of you. It seeks immediate gratification, wants the chocolate bar, urges you to procrastinate on a difficult task, convinces you to keep scrolling through social media instead of going to bed. The other mind is the more evolved, forward-thinking part of you. This system is centered in the prefrontal cortex, the area right behind your forehead. This is your wise self, the part that controls impulses and delays gratification. It wants you to lose weight, save for retirement, finish that important project. It understands future consequences and holds on to your deeper values. When you stand in front of the fridge debating between a piece of cake and a healthier banana, you are experiencing these two minds in a direct showdown. The fascinating thing is that you are both of these versions of yourself. Depending on factors like your stress levels, your energy, and even how much sleep you've had, one mind can become more dominant than the other. When you are tired, stressed, or distracted, the impulsive mind takes over. Your brain defaults to the path of least resistance, making temptation harder to ignore. This is why willpower can feel so inconsistent. On a good day, you might be a model of self-discipline, but on a bad day, you might feel like you have no control at all. Understanding this internal conflict is the first step toward mastering self-control. It's not about eliminating the impulsive self. That part of you is essential for survival and enjoyment. Instead, the goal is to strengthen the wise, future-oriented self so it has a stronger voice in your decisions. We need to create the conditions that allow the prefrontal cortex to do its job effectively. The strategies that follow are all designed to do just that, to fuel the part of your brain that helps you remember who you want to be and what you truly want to accomplish in the long run. One of the most powerful yet overlooked ways to boost your willpower is to improve the fundamental physiology of your brain. Think of your brain as a machine that requires fuel to run efficiently. The prefrontal cortex, your center for self-control, is a particularly energy-hungry region. When it's underfueled, its ability to regulate impulses and keep you focused on your goals diminishes significantly. This is where two simple practices, getting enough sleep and meditating, come into play. Consider a study involving individuals recovering from drug addiction, one of the most intense willpower challenges imaginable. Researchers had one group follow a standard recovery program, while another group was taught mindfulness meditation to help them sleep better. The results were astounding. The meditation group began sleeping, on average, over an hour more per night. That extra hour of sleep had a massive impact. The increase in sleep time strongly predicted their resistance to relapse. Better sleep physically changed their brains, making them better equipped to resist the intense temptation of falling back into addiction. Sleep deprivation, defined in most studies as getting less than 6 hours of sleep a night, literally shuts down your willpower center. Brain scans show that when you're tired, the prefrontal cortex goes dim. At the same time, the midbrain regions associated with cravings and impulses become more active. Your brain essentially transforms into the impulsive version of you. This is why you are more likely to crave junk food, spend impulsively, or snap at a loved one when you are exhausted. Your ability to remember your long-term goals is biologically impaired. Meditation works in a similar way. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of daily mindfulness meditation has been shown to train the brain for better self-control. It increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex and strengthens the connections between this region and the parts of the brain it needs to regulate. Over time, regular meditation can actually make the prefrontal cortex bigger and denser. Physical exercise and a low-glycemic plant-based diet also have this effect by stabilizing blood sugar and improving the brain's energy efficiency. These activities may feel like they require willpower to start, but they quickly pay it back with interest, creating a positive upward spiral of self-control. What is your first reaction when you have a willpower failure? For many of us, the instinct is to engage in harsh self-criticism. We beat ourselves up, feeling guilty, feeling ashamed, and feeling angry. We believe that this negative feeling will serve as a powerful motivator to do better next time. However, research consistently shows the exact opposite is true. Self-criticism is not a source of willpower, it is a drain on it. The harder you are on yourself for a setback, the more likely you are to fall into the same trap again. This surprising finding was shown in an experiment with dieters. Half the women then heard a simple message of self-compassion. Remember that everyone indulges sometimes, please don't be too hard on yourself about it. The other half received no such message and were left alone with guilt. Women left with guilt and self-criticism ate significantly more candy. Women who were encouraged to be kind to themselves ate less than half as much. The self-compassion message broke a destructive cycle called the what the hell effect. Self-forgiveness reduces stress, letting you see the failure as a single event, not your character, making it easier to get back on track. Why is it so hard to save money for retirement, or to choose to exercise today for a health benefit that is decades away? Well, a big part of the reason is that we often view our future self as a complete stranger. When researchers ask people to describe their future self, they often talk about them as if they are a different person entirely. This psychological distance makes it easy to prioritize the needs and desires of our present self over the well-being of that distant, abstract future you. An innovative experiment at Stanford University used virtual reality to bridge this gap. Undergraduate students came into a lab and interacted with a digitally aged three-dimensional avatar of themselves at retirement age. They could ask their future self questions and see them respond in real time. This hour-long interaction was designed to create a feeling of connection and empathy. Later, when these students were given a hypothetical $1,000 to budget, those who had met their future self allocated more than twice as much money into a retirement savings account compared to students who hadn't. The experience made the future feel real and immediate. This principle applies to more than just finances. Research shows that people who feel a stronger connection to their future self are less likely to procrastinate, make more ethical decisions at work, are more likely to floss, and are more likely to exercise. You don't need a virtual reality lab to cultivate this connection. A simple but powerful exercise is to write a letter from your future self to your present self. Imagine you are 10 years in the future or 20 years in the future, having successfully achieved a goal you are currently struggling with. Write a letter thanking your present self for making the difficult choices and sacrifices. In our culture of positive thinking, we are often told to visualize success. If you want to achieve a goal, imagine yourself crossing the finish line. Imagine receiving the promotion. Imagine fitting into those old jeans. While optimism can be motivating, research on willpower says focusing only on success can backfire. Try strategic pessimism. Imagine how you might fail. One study looked at women who wanted to start exercising regularly. One group got standard motivational advice, imagine success. The other group focused on obstacles. They identified their goal, then vividly imagined roadblocks. When would they skip a workout? What excuses would they tell themselves? They wrote predictions and revised them daily. The results were dramatic. Those who predicted failure doubled their exercise in week 1. 4 months later, they still exercised twice as much as the success-only group. Why is imagining failure effective? It shatters the illusion of effortless change. Overly optimistic people get demoralized by their first setback. If you've anticipated obstacles, setbacks are just part of the plan. Focusing on past progress can give a license to slack off. Feeling good about success can trick the brain into thinking the goal is met, which primes immediate gratification, like cake. By focusing on potential failures, you keep motivation engaged. You can create a simple plan by identifying your goal, the steps to take, and brainstorming every possible reason it might not happen, along with a specific if-then plan for how you'll respond. You're mentally prepared. Many of our biggest willpower challenges involve fighting against a powerful feeling, a craving, an impulse, a wave of anxiety. When a temptation strikes, our natural instinct is often to try to push it away, suppress the thought, or distract ourselves. Research shows this usually backfires. Trying to suppress a thought or a craving often makes it stronger, a phenomenon known as the ironic rebound effect. A more effective strategy is not to fight the feeling, but to accept its presence and learn to surf the urge. This technique was tested in a dramatic study with smokers who wanted to quit. They were brought into a lab after abstaining from cigarettes for 24 hours. They were then put through a torture session where they were instructed to slowly unwrap their favorite brand of cigarettes, smell them, and even put one in their mouths, but they were not allowed to light it. Before this, half of the participants were taught to surf the urge. They were told to notice the physical sensations of their craving, to view it as a wave that would rise, crest and eventually fall, and to simply breathe through it without acting. The smokers who learned to surf the urge reduced their smoking by 40% in the following week, even though they weren't asked to. Crucially, the technique broke the link between stress and smoking for them. They now had a tool to handle difficult feelings without needing a cigarette. The same technique was used with people who struggled with self-control around sweets. They had to carry a transparent box of Hershey's Kisses with them for 48 hours without eating any. Those taught to surf the urge were far more successful at resisting than those who were told to use distraction. The power of this technique lies in mindfulness and acceptance. Instead of fighting a craving, you acknowledge it. You notice what it feels like in your body, the tension in your stomach, the tightness in your chest. You observe it with curiosity, without judgment. You remind yourself that this feeling is temporary. Like a wave, it will pass if you just wait it out. You don't have to act on every impulse you feel. This acceptance-based approach takes away the craving's power, allowing you to ride it out until it subsides, leaving you with your self-control intact. Now that we have explored the science, let's consolidate these strategies into a practical toolkit you can use in your daily life. Start by becoming a willpower scientist. Experiment with 1 or 2 strategies that fit your goals. First, focus on your willpower physiology. Will you commit to getting 30 more minutes of sleep each night, or will you try a 10-minute guided meditation each morning? Second, practice self-compassion after a setback. The next time you slip up, try this 3-step message. Third, connect with your future self. Take 15 minutes this week to write a letter from your future self. Finally, practice predicting failure and surfing the urge. For any goal, write down 3 specific obstacles and an if-then plan for each. And when a craving strikes, pause. Take 3 deep breaths and just notice the physical sensation without acting on it. The journey to mastering self-control is not a sprint. It is a marathon built from thousands of small, conscious choices. Change is possible. It begins with understanding the science, adopting the right strategies, and taking that first small step today. Through practice, patience, and a little bit of self-compassion, you can build the self-control you need to create a life that truly reflects your goals and aspirations.